What's up everyone, welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be showing you guys how to make text follow players just like this above me. Let's go. Alright, so to get started, you're going to get out your maker pen, you're going to go to your palette, go into search, and you're going to look up event receiver. Once you have that out, you're going to next want a local player. A player has role chip. An if chip. An event definition. Just leave it to the side for now. Event sender. And finally, another event receiver. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to wire the get local player to the target on the player has role. Next, the value on the player has role, you're going to wire that to the condition on the if, and on this event receiver, you're going to wire the execution to the if. Next, we're going to configure our event definition, and we're going to name it player has role, because we're going to make it so that when the player has a certain role, the text follows them. You're going to submit that new name. You're going to add a new property, a player property. You're going to name it player. Add property. Now it has that property. Once you've done that, you're going to configure the second event receiver with, where is it? Player has role. And then the event sender with player has role. Now, we're going to wire all this together. You're going to wire the get local player to the player here, and the then on the if to the sender execution. Now let's get started on the actual text part of it. What you're going to want is go back to your palette, go back into search. You're going to go into search and look up vector split. Next, you're going to want a vector create. And finally, you're going to want an add chip. What we're going to want to do here is wire the X on the split to the X on the create. Same with the Z. But with the Y, you're going to want to wire the Y on the vector split to the value on the add, and the sum of the add to the Y on the vector create. Next, we're going to configure this value right here on the add and set it to 0.5. This is going to change the height of the text when we spawn it in. I find 0.5 to work the best. Next, we're going to go back into palette, and we are going to look up get position. You're going to spawn it right before the vector split. You're going to wire the player on the event receiver to the target, and once we have the position, you're going to put that into the vector split. Now we can actually get our text gadget. So you can just look up text and spawn it in right over here. I highly recommend configuring the chip and detaching it from Rec Room object, just because this text will be moving around a lot and it'll be hard to keep up with this chip if it moves with the text. What we're going to do now is we are going to get one more chip, and this is going to be set position. and you're going to spawn it between the vector create and the text. What you're going to do here is you're going to wire the vector, the output vector on the vector create to the position on the set position. You're going to wire the target to this yellow pin next to text on the text gadget. And you're going to wire the execution on the set position to the execution on the event receiver. Player has role. Once you have all this set up, you can configure the first event receiver you spawned in. You're going to want to set it to update 30 Hz. Now you may notice that the text is not following you yet. That's because we never gave it a role to check for, so it's not doing it because it can't find any roles for the text to appear above. That's what we're going to do right now. So, you're going to want to look up in your palette, trigger volume, here. You're going to want to spawn 2 of them. 1, 2. Next, you're going to look up add player role. Let's see here. Player add role. And finally, you're going to look up player remove role and spawn it next to the second trigger volume. Now, we're going to wire the target to the player and the player entered to the execution on the remove role, and do the same for the add role. Just like that. Now, we need a role for this to check for. So we're going to go back into our palette and we're going to look up role. Once you spawn in that role, you're going to configure it and name it whatever you want. For example, I'm just going to name it U since it's not very important right now. Once you have that role set up, you're going to go to all these role chips you created and configure them with U. So the value on the add role, U. The value on the remove role, U. And finally, the player has role, configure the value, U. So once you've set up all that, you can go over, tap this trigger volume, and as you can see, the text is now following you. You can configure it to say whatever you want, and also, if you want, you can make it so everyone can see that it's following you. It's super easy to do this. All you have to do is configure the event sender, and switch local to all. Now, it will use up a lot more net, which is how much data you can send, but it doesn't take up too much, so you should be okay. Hey guys, thanks for watching my tutorial. If it helped you out, please remember to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll hope to see you guys in the next video. Bye.